So in this session, we're going to talk about our current work in the public cloud. We're going to focus on some of the momentum that we've got, and in particular, the work that we're doing with some of our larger public cloud partners. So it's a pretty small crowd, so I encourage you to ask questions. We'll try and keep this interactive. We've got all of our experts here on the business side and on the technical side. So please don't shy away from asking questions. My name is Frank Rigo. I'm the, among other things, I'm the public cloud program manager for SUSE. So that means I work with a lot of our public cloud providers to help onboard them into our program and get SUSE running as a guest in and on their cloud. And with me is Kristen Keenan right here. She is our alliance manager for Microsoft Azure and for AWS. So she's an expert on those relationships and what's going on there. She's going to take the bulk of the presentation because we've got a lot to say around those two clouds in particular. A lot of exciting things going on there. So let's get started here. So we're going to talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about the market and why we're in this market, what we're doing there, and how the market is trending. And then we're going to go through what we do in the cloud. We'll talk about some of our key partners. We have a little bit about some of the tools and features that we've built for the cloud that our technical team has built. We'll talk a little bit about then, what you should do if you're thinking about some of the steps you might want to take if you're thinking about moving some of your workloads from the data center into the cloud. And then if we have time, we can give you a brief demo on how easy it is actually to launch a SUSE instance in the cloud.
Before we get started, Frank, with your with the market analysis, I just wanted to ask a couple questions of the audience. I kind of know what the customers are running in the cloud, but I wondered if you could share with me what you're running in the cloud. Are you running SUSE workloads in the cloud today? I know you are. Anybody else? Research, for development. Dev and test. Yeah. Workloads. Is there anybody else running their SUSE workloads in the cloud? Is there any? Is there any SAP application? Okay. Is there any questions you want to answer during the session that we might make sure we address about what we're offering? As Frank mentioned, we have our technical team here, we have our business team, so don't hesitate to ask. We have Amazon and Microsoft here, so we can also ask those questions as well. Migration from the current legacy environment. Well, on the next slide, as you can imagine, this maybe is typical. If customers are running their non-Microsoft databases on SUSE Linux in the cloud, they're running dev and test, you just mentioned. They're running lightweight analytics. We know that they're running HPC and they're running SUSE Linux infrastructure service. So we know that's happening today, so we're going to talk about a little bit more about those offerings and what we can support moving forward. Frank's going to talk about the market right now. Workload of moving a mainframe. I know it's a pretty big workload, but Unix to Linux in the cloud. Yeah. That's one of SUSE's programs is to run, Unix to Linux. We have some actual analyses that we're running for moving those workloads directly to the cloud. It's not a lot different than it's right on Linux operating system that's running on the cloud. That's a great opportunity for modernizing. You're applying to there's a lot of opportunity to the replatforming from SP to getting sensors to our customers. Now when we go to customers, how do we differentiate between whether we go to this or we go to that? That's one of the points we always try to defend that people is better when it comes to that. Okay. Is your question, do you want to address that? No, just need to, what are the key differentiators? Okay. Why We've got some new folks coming in. We're talking about offerings in the public cloud, and my questions were, are you running the system in public cloud or in a cloud service provider? So if you guys have any contributors, are you running any workloads in the public cloud?
Looks like it's a green field today. Yeah. Well, you're in the right session then. So the whole idea behind what we're doing in the public cloud and in the data center is giving you the ability to run your workload where you want, when you want, right? So our customers are increasingly telling us that while they're running workloads in the data center, they're either moving now or they've got plans to move those workloads into the public cloud. So what we're doing in our group is making sure that that we can do that. And just a little bit of data. This is from a recent January 2016 from IDC. But the fact is, if you're not there, you probably will be soon. The growth in overall spending in the cloud is about 6 times the rate of growth over the next 4 or 5 years with regard to spending in the data center, right? So the rate of growth, right? So the rate of growth is increasingly toward the public cloud. And I think we showed this, I know we showed this yesterday in the partner presentation, but this is actually from, of all things, this is from the VMware, VMworld, and what they did a big survey of their customers and how they're moving to the cloud. And what we see here is that as the traditional IT shrinks, the data center portion of it shrinks, both the private cloud and the public cloud are growing. And over time, actually, their survey says that the private cloud becomes actually a bigger component than the public cloud as people grow that ability to do cloud applications as a service inside their own data center. But there's no disputing that the days of workloads in the data center are shrinking. And again, we see the public cloud growth over the next 10 to 15 years is huge. And I think Nils mentioned this today in our keynote. It's exactly what SUSE is seeing in our business, right? So from a growth perspective, we're seeing tremendous growth of customers deploying workloads in that public cloud. A lot of that growth is coming from new instances, right? So today there's not so much movement of workloads from the data center to the cloud, but people standing up new instances, new cloud-native applications in the public cloud. So this is exactly what we're seeing in our business, and that growth continues. So this might be obvious, but seeing as a lot of the group here has got not a lot of experience with the public cloud yet, based on Christian's questions. What we're really finding is customers are looking to take the spend out of the hardware in the data center, right? So trading a CapEx for OpEx in the cloud. A lot of our customers are going to the public cloud because it gives them the ability to scale, right? So they can easily spin up new instances as needed, pay for only what they need, right? Because they're either purchasing by the hour or by the month, but they're only paying for that utilization that they use in the cloud. And it gives them the ability to quickly spin up and spin down workloads, right? So a tremendous amount of agility. We talk about this all the time, but it really is something that our customers are telling us is a trend in their business. So if you look at just a quick who's who in the cloud, and again, well, that might be a little small from the back of the room, but this is as of August 2016. So this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for cloud service providers. You see Amazon Web Services and Microsoft in the upper right quadrant as leaders. And you'll see just from a share of market, it's pretty clear that there are a few players that are driving the bulk of demand in the public cloud market, right? But from a growth aspect, you'll see some of the, and we do see some of the smaller players with tremendous growth. So, at SUSE, we're focusing on, while we've got 40 or 50 cloud service providers that run SUSE in the cloud, we've got a tremendous amount of partnership and focus with some of the major cloud providers. And we'll go through what we're doing with AWS and Microsoft in more detail here today. So this is a little bit about that growth. Microsoft has seen a 30% growth, or they're looking at 30% growth from now to 2018 based on the Morgan Stanley survey. Amazon, $7.88 billion in revenue, up over 69% over last year. So if you've ever gone to an Amazon reInvent show, it's the amount of growth that they report on those in that conferences, it's tremendous. The amount of new services that are coming online all the time through AWS. So it's a huge phenomenon, and this is something that's driving, of course, a lot of our business, and that's why we see so much uptake through our customer base. Worldwide growth over 20%. So this is why I say if you're not there yet, you probably will be soon. So again, IT departments assume their companies use 51 cloud services. And this talks a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. So if you've ever heard of this thing called shadow IT, when we talk to customers, sometimes they don't actually know what they're utilizing in the public cloud, because the usage is driven more from the IT departments, right? It's being driven more from the engineering departments, more from the development groups. And there's this thing called shadow IT where these departments are it's so easy to get to the cloud, they're bypassing the IT department and running these instances themselves, right? So there's a lot of this type of usage going on today. And so you might be using more cloud than you think. 15 times more cloud services than they actually reported. So shadow IT is an issue. But so now let's talk a little bit about what we do here at SUSE. This is something that is not just about the cloud, but it's sort of pervasive in our whole approach. And Kristen, you want to come forward? Yeah. So.
I think our transitions went down.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, what I was going to talk about next is our common offerings across cloud platforms. So we have some specialized offerings with Amazon and Microsoft, and we've got a common set of solutions that our engineering team has been working on over the last 5 years. I'm going to talk about that first. That includes SAP application, Plus for SAP, Plus for applications, HPC, SUSECON enterprise servers for all of your common infrastructure workloads. And we just recently released a Contention Start 2.0 image for lightweight data analytics.
You're going to need to wear that.
No, I'm not very good at this. I can't keep still. But so these solutions have been optimized by our engineering team for our cloud solution provider offerings. We also have tools to help you get from where you are today to the cloud. So there's SLES enhancements, which I think, Robert, you're going to talk about in your session about the public cloud modules or not.
Yeah.
But if not, but our tools that are built into SUSE Linux Enterprise for helping you deploy your images in the cloud. We have a bring your own subscription offering for SLES and for SLES for SAP, so you can utilize your subscriptions that you have today, those that you bought from SUSE or SUSE's partners, and you can deploy those in the cloud. And then we also have SUSE Manager. David's going to talk about that more on Friday morning, give you some demos, but SUSE Manager can be used to manage your VMs in the cloud, on-premise. SUSE Manager can be deployed on-premise to manage all of those different instances and where those instances are. Or it can be deployed in the cloud with another bring your own subscription image that's available. Something I'm really, really proud of, but these folks built it, is our managed infrastructure server. So in each data center in Amazon, Microsoft,
and Google are servers patch servers that will service your images that you buy in the cloud. So that's over 60 or 70 data centers. Or is there more than that we're managing those patch servers in, redundant patch servers? So your images can be compliant in the same space that your VMs are running, saves on network, and it optimizes performance. So I'm very, very proud of that work that our team has done. We also offer different support options, but ultimately, customers can talk directly to SUSE. So if you buy from Microsoft will troubleshoot your hypervisor, but if there's a Linux issue, hand that support issue directly off to us. We also have 24/7 options in Microsoft Azure. If you buy from Amazon troubleshoots your Linux, and then if there's an escalation, SUSE is involved. And then through our cloud service providers that Frank manages, they'll manage and support you, and SUSE is available as an escalation option. We also have flexible buying options, so we don't constrain, how you buy and how you use your images. You can buy on demand, pay as you go. You can use your volume agreements from Microsoft and Amazon to purchase your subscriptions. You can buy through our CSPs, and also we just talked about the bring your own subscription from SUSE or our partners. And for some reason, our transitions don't work very well, but I was going to talk about our key partnerships now and the differentiators. So we'll get to your questions about, what are some of the unique differentiators between SUSE and other Linux distributions. Our key partnerships, as I've mentioned, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. We have 40 cloud service providers worldwide, and some of them are regional. We had questions yesterday about how do you differentiate, between a small or a large, and it has to do with, regional demand or presence, or a service provider's desire to resell SUSE Linux Enterprise. So we have a big portfolio of partners that Frank manages. These are all the products that hosters can run and resell to our customers. So it's our full portfolio of products that can be run in the cloud solution providers. With Microsoft, we see the customer uptake being enterprise customers and customers deploying hybrid cloud solutions. So we've developed and engineered solutions that run on Windows, that run on Microsoft's private Azure Stack network solutions, and in the public cloud. Microsoft offers an SAP HANA solution, and now we have an Apache Spark solution as well. You asked the question about, why SUSE or why Red Hat? No, 95% of SAP HANA implementations are on SUSE. So we think that's a very strong differentiator. We've worked very closely with SAP and the SAP Linux labs to engineer the solutions that are running on both Amazon and Microsoft. So we think that's a very strong differentiator. Our HPC image, there will be a Red Hat image as well in Microsoft, but we've developed that, and it's been running in Microsoft's Azure public cloud that takes advantage of Microsoft's InfiniBand. So there's performance opportunities there. So we think those are strong differentiators right now. We're open source, and Red Hat has the same code that we have, so we don't compete from a features perspective, but we have very, very strong partnerships that we take advantage of. And I think I did mention Azure Stack. So when you use our on-demand image, it will run on Azure Stack TP2 that was just released for public preview, just so you know, as Microsoft spins Azure Stack up. You probably have all seen our Microsoft Loves Linux logo there, and we've had a very long relationship with Microsoft since 2010 or 2006. Sorry, it just has its own mind. Okay, it won't stop. What's that? Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Okay, since 2006, we've been engineering and selling with Microsoft. So we're working together to build solutions, and it's just going to run through this very quickly. You're going to hear more about SQL Server on Linux. We're going to hear more about SQL Server on Linux. There's a presentation, I think it's tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So that's new. We're in development right now. It hasn't been released yet, but you're going to see demos tomorrow. So that's a new opportunity. We have some test drives and some solutions that customers can test out. So we have a test drive for SUSE HPC on Microsoft Azure that you can test for free. It's using our most current version of SLUS 12, and that's available as an option in addition to the Azure free trial. Let's see if I can move forward. With Amazon, we're focusing on customers that have new applications, modernized applications, startups, hyperscale solutions. SAP HANA runs with high availability on Amazon, and of course we have full container support on EC2. So we're focused a lot on what both our cloud providers focus on individually. And that's also a differentiator for high availability in the Amazon web services there. We've been working with Amazon and their public cloud solution since 2012. So we've got a 5-year relationship with them, and we work closely with their engineering teams to deliver. SAP HANA is available as a proof of concept in both Amazon and Azure. So if anyone's interested, we're partnering with Proterra, an SI who's headquartered in Chicago, who has a tool that will help you migrate an SAP HANA server to, thank you, Frank, to either cloud platform. So if you're interested in that, come see us after this session, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The short story is you have options. And we've tried to standardize our hardened SUSE Linux Enterprise server for implementing in the cloud, but you have options to deploy, where you want, when you want, and on what platform you want, hybrid cloud and public cloud. And with that, Frank, I think we're going to move to, we have some customer references. We have Altran, who deployed in the Microsoft Azure public cloud. And we have a company in Portugal who did their voting application for 7 million users on SUSE Linux Enterprise on Azure. In Peru. Thank you. But now we're going to talk about tools. I'm going to hand it back to Frank for that. Thank you.
Kind of, yeah. So just a little bit about what we do actually for inside SUSE Linux to help make it easier to get to the cloud. So we went to this module approach with SUSE Linux, where we keep the modules updated constantly, so that so it makes for more agility and being able to keep certain items in the operating system up to date. So one of the things that we have is the public cloud module in SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 12. And that's a set of command line tools, packages that makes it easy to deploy instances into the cloud. As I said, the architecture of the module gives you the ability to keep those modules frequently updated. So it doesn't need to wait until the next release of SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. So the modules are updated on a more frequent basis. So one of those modules is the public cloud module. And I think this says, because it's not up there, but it says,
Information tracker.
is that what that is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Live patching.
Next. Yeah, so I think that's supposed to say live patching. So are you familiar with live patching? Is anybody in here familiar with the live patching that we have available for SUSE Linux Enterprise Server? All right. So it allows you to apply kernel patches on the fly without having to reboot. So this is a fantastic way to keep your servers running, and it's available in the cloud. So it's something that we do today, and we support, fully supported by SUSE. It allows a lot of our cloud providers like this for the ability to keep their customers' images compliant. So it gives you access to the repositories for SLES 12 and next. This is another tool that Robert and his team implemented. It's called PINTS, or Public Cloud Information Tracker. This is something that our customers that are deploying images in the cloud can utilize to make sure that they're getting information about the images that they're deploying to Google, Amazon, Microsoft Azure. This is in the SLES 12 public cloud module that we talked about. And it's also, I guess, in SLES 11 public cloud channel. So go back to that just for a second. So this is, again, these are things that we've built into SLES to make SLES a better guest or a better image in the cloud. So they're built right into the operating system. So we talked a little bit about, at the beginning, we talked a little bit about migration. How do we, if you're running SUSE instances in the data center, how do you actually get those instances into the cloud? And there's a number of ways to do that, but we have some tools that are kind of unique and cool. One of them is called Machinery. I think there might be some sessions on Machinery going on at SUSECON this week. But Machinery is a command line application that allows you to create a description of a SUSE Linux instance that's running in your data center. The idea is, if I want to migrate that instance from the data center to the cloud, how can I wrap that up and make sure I'm running the same configuration in the cloud that I'm running in the data center? It's actually a fantastic tool, and I think, do we have demos in the technology showcase? I think we have this being demoed in there, but it allows you to wrap up that, export the descriptions, and then take that information and take it to one of our tools like SUSE Studio or Kiwi, and build an image, an exact replica that you can duplicate into the cloud. So it's a very good migration tool, and it comes with SLES, so there's no additional purchases necessary there. And so this is an example of how easy that is to do. Really, it's just a number of 2 or 3 command lines to wrap up a server that's operating in the data center, export it to Kiwi, build the AMI and or VHD for Azure, and then launch. So with regard to what some of our customers think about when they're looking to migrate to the cloud, depending on the complexity of your data center infrastructure, there's a lot that you need to think about. And we do have a consulting group at SUSE, so we're engaged with a number of customers on looking at their enterprise deployment and helping them migrate those instances to the cloud. But you have to think about, from an implementation point of view, the app development, what your DevOps environment looks like, how are you going to do billing, what are you going to do about security, what the risk assessment is, business continuity. So there's a number of things that go along with migrating an instance from the data center into the cloud. Fortunately, we have a number of partners that are experts at that. Some of them are here at SUSECON this week, whose business model is, let's take a look at what you're doing, let's do some planning, let's give you the tools. Some of these partners have actual tools that they've implemented. to get you from the data center into the cloud. So it's a journey that you don't need to take alone. We can point you to the right partner to get you going. There's a lot going on at SUSECON this week. So if you're really interested in, how I get to the cloud, this is just the business overview. The point of this discussion is SUSE has images for SLES, for SAP, for SUSE Manager that can be run in our large cloud providers, but in addition, many of our hosters. But if you want to take a deep dive into some of the technology behind that, including the HPC that Kristen talked about, the SUSE Manager in the public cloud, the SQL that Kristen talked about with regard to Azure, and a number of other things, go to some of these sessions. There's fantastic information here. One thing I do want to make sure that we talk about today is we announced SLES 11 SP2 in the keynote. SLES 11 SP2 now is available for bring your own subscription in the cloud. So there's no need to wait. Our customers can now deploy SLES 11 SP2, the latest service pack, directly in Azure and in Google, and for bring your own subscription, right? SLES 12 SP2. SLES 12 SP2. All right. This is not. Let's keep going. So one of the things we wanted to get you, just have you take a quick look at is how you get an image running in the cloud, and it's a very easy process. So I'll give David the con here, and he can do a quick demo on setting up a SLES image in the cloud. How many times did I say SLES 11?
You said a lot, yeah.
SLES 12.
Yeah, quickly, my name's David Rocha. I'm going to do a demonstration on just how easy it is to find a SUSE image on both Azure and AWS, just because I have the console access to that. One of the points I do want to point out is really understanding that there's an HDMI, that cloud is just a platform, right? There's capabilities for really any type of platform, whether it's OpenStack, vSphere, whatever the case is. You just have to understand what workload, I'll do it. You just have to understand what workload you're bringing to whatever platform. And you just have to realize what that platform's capable of. So a lot of what we're doing with SUSE just illustrates that it's capable of accessing that platform. So let me see how this is going to appear. Switch to 4. Oh, 7. Is it going over or no?
Switching.
All right. I think I'm too close to something. Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah, let me check this out real quick. All right. Interesting. So let me go ahead and I'm going to log in on this console, or yeah, let me just log in on this console. So if you can switch back to the other. real quick. I'm going to probably disconnect it, so as I sign in. Now I'm fine. This is not internet connected. No. Yeah. All right. Let me go here.
Are there any specific questions that we can answer with regard to? Incremental things like for the production of a big store moving to life, particularly image living for
It's because, yeah, let me just send it.
Yeah, so it's OS configuration and the application. So machinery has the ability to also consider any third-party software that you may have installed in the system. So we may understand the configuration. We do know that it's not coming from us, and so we will wrap it up in the firewall, and then we can take that and move that along. So you understand there's a third-party application installed that doesn't come from packages from RPMs or was installed by some third-party installer. So we understand that that is there. We just don't necessarily know what to do with it. So the report that you get from machinery will tell you application XYZ is located in user bin. So we'll tell you that it's there, right? So you can, in your report, you can understand exactly what is on the system, even if we didn't install it, even if it didn't work. Yeah, so we can't do deltas on some random application. So when something changes, I mean, we know that the file is different, but we don't necessarily understand the file format, right? We have the database. I mean, if you're running DB2, for example, right?
SUSE or Hotmail?
But we can tell you that there's a file on your system that is not from us. We don't know where it's coming from, but it was different the last time when you did the inspection. So that is possible. And that is, yeah, so I can include it in the file export. But everything, all of that information is in the report that you get. So machinery creates a very nice web report that you can see in the browser. and then you can see all that information. So you get a really good state of your system as it is, and that can help you migrate to the cloud if you want to. But obviously, we have no method of saying application XYZ. We don't know how to transfer it into, let's say, a cloud system. So you would have to do the installation of that application in the cloud system, but at least you know it's there on that system that you're in, right? Often people have so many servers, they don't necessarily what application is running on what system. And machinery will tell you. Right? Machinery can tell you, okay, on this system you're running Postfix and you're running DB2 and something else. And on this system over here, you're running MySQL Server and
Try the other HDMI input.
you get that information from the machine.
This is only for SUSE workloads, or we can have Windows as well as only.
No, we cannot analyze them, but pretty much any Linux.
Any thematic between PHP and Linux, we have a tool placement for migration.
Yes, there's a placement tool that's part of Microsoft. Okay. Not a SUSE.
Is there a placement with machinery?
No, machinery, no. Machinery is open source and part of machinery is delivered with the Advanced Systems Management module. So I'm going to install the Advanced Systems Management module in well, SP2 now. Then you have access to the machinery. Yeah, well, that's something you do in the first server.
Okay. I might not use this just because of the feedback.
We can turn down.
All right. Is this better? Okay, great. So, yeah, quickly, I do want to show a couple of dashboards that we have. So the AWS dashboard, they've modified the dashboard so where you can see your recently visited web services on EC2, and EC2 and VPC were recently accessed. So I click the VPC. Each region, whenever you select a section, so you're only viewing those instances in that specific region. So in this case, if I wanted to look at my EC2 dashboard, I have a quick rundown on what's available, and I can hit launch an instance. Now you can see where we're on the quick start. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 12 SP1 is on the quick start. And this is the on-demand image where you're paying that additional subscription cost for the interface or for the resources. So if you have a resource, you launch. If I select an instance, I could see what type I want. We do have the free tier enabled, so there is not a subscription cost for that. And AWS does not charge you for that amount for a certain period of time. So I can select whatever image I wanted to, and next configure, and I can select and optimize what I need to. I can do an auto assign IP address if I wanted to enable that. I can get an IP address assigned to it. So really, it's in the quick start. The second dashboard that I'll quickly show you is a Microsoft Azure. shows you all the resources that are available. I can do a search for those resources on top, and it does show you throughout the entire environment. So to add an additional SLES image, I can search the marketplace, and I'll just search for SUSE. And it will pop up. In fairness, this was working earlier. I think as the conference is growing, the Wi-Fi is really getting choked. So let me go into compute and do a search on SUSE. Yeah. There you go. So you can see where I have the SLES 12 SP1 available, premium support, and also BYOS. If you're doing searches for images and you see a BYOS, that just means bring your own subscription. So if you have available entitlements, you can use those entitlements on these cloud servers. So, and quickly, you can deploy Salt Manager. As I said, the cloud is just another platform. You have the ability to manage, and this SUSE Manager is actually managing Salt agents across AWS and Azure. As you can see, I mean, on the AWS side, it's real easy to tell based off the default host name that gets created, which you can adjust and modify. But that's just a quick view. There's other sessions where we really dive into how we configured SUSE Manager. It's on a Friday morning. First thing, it'll be great. So if you want to come and see how we configured the two environments so they can communicate, or talk to me after the session, I can describe it. Thank you.